What is Node.js? Node.js is a JavaScript runtime environment. We already told this in the previous section. It is a JavaScript runtime environment. It will help us running JS code in the server. So we know about running the JavaScript code in the browser, right? But we haven't known about running the code in the server. That's what we can do with the Node.js. Okay, Node.js lets us create servers and we can run the code in the server. That is the first advantage of Node.js. Second one is, it is just like I said before, it is event driven architecture. Node.js mainly works based on the event driven architecture. That means events. Based on events, Node.js will work. So Node.js uses an event loop. This event loop Node.js uses to handle a request asynchronously. Use this event loop to handle asynchronous requests. So what is asynchronous and what is synchronous? Asynchronous means it will not wait for the request or wait for the task to complete. It will move to the next task. Once this task complete, it will have a callback. I will tell you all those things later. That saying that this task is completed, then it will execute the rest of the things. That is asynchronous. What is synchronous? Synchronous means the application should wait for this particular task to be completed. Then only it will move to the next task. Asynchronous means it will not wait for the task which is running to finish. It will go to the next task. But synchronous means it will wait for the task to complete. Then only it will go for the next task. For example, we are downloading a file or we are reading a file. While reading, that application will stop until the file completely read. I hope that is clear. Node.js uses event loop to run the task asynchronously. Synchronous task will be directly handled. Asynchronous task use event loop to handle requests. Events are emitted and registers callback. Listeners, we can tell. In other words, we can tell callbacks to handle them. Just like I said, when a task gets created, if it is an asynchronous task, it will be running in the background. At the same time, there will be a callback generated, like what we said. So once the task is completed, the callback function will be called, and the resulting functionalities, whatever it is pending, from the callback, it will be executed and the task will be completed. This is what event driven architecture it is using. The main two things are there. One is event loop, one is callback. Next one is non-blocking IO input. What is non-blocking IO? Node.js uses non-blocking asynchronous IO operations to handle tasks. Example, file reading, database queries, API request, etc. What do you mean by this? If it is an asynchronous task, it will not block the main thread. File reading, DB queries, API requests, all those are should be run as asynchronous task, right? Because like if you are reading a file of 10 MB, 100 MB like that, that will be keep on reading the file because like it will take time to read the file, right? So those things, it should be asynchronous. Otherwise, the main thread will be blocked. Node.js is a single threaded application. What do you mean by single threaded? There is a main thread that will be running for synchronous operations. All synchronous operations, there will be a main thread that is running. All the asynchronous operations will be pushed to the event loop and the callbacks will be executed after each task is completed. Like that. Okay. So for all the non-blocking input-output requests like file reading, DB queries, API requests, all those things, Node.js uses non-blocking IO. Non-blocking means it will not block the main thread. Main thread is, we already told, it is a single threaded application. So there is only one main thread. The rest of the things will be like, if it is asynchronous things, it will be moved back to the queue, event loop. So it will not block the main thread. That is one of the main functionality of Node.js. It uses non-blocking input-output operation. This makes it ideal for handling many requests simultaneously. Multiple requests it can handle because of this. And in the backend, it uses libuv. It is a multi-platform C library, C programming language library that provides support for asynchronous IO-based event loops. So for IO-based asynchronous event loops, libuv is used in the Node.js. This is written in C programming language. So this helps in asynchronous programming with the Node.js. Okay, this is a part which helps in asynchronous programming. So this in the backend, it will run the asynchronous task with the help of the worker threads or the system processes. We will learn all this in depth later. But currently you should know that libuv is using in the backend for asynchronous programming. Fourth point we have already discussed, that is single threaded. Node.js is single threaded and it uses event loop with the event loop. So event loop helps in multiple incoming requests to handle simultaneously. So these are the basic things, but we need to explain a little bit more about event loop. Let's see what is event loop. So this is the event loop. Node.js constantly executes the event loop and every iteration of it, we can call it as a tick. So every loop, inside every loop, we have different phases. Okay. All these are different phases. Each phases are having their own queues. We can learn one by one. So first one is timers. In timer phase, we will execute only two things. One is the set timeout, and one is set interval. What do you mean by that? Event loop will check for the callback scheduled by the set timeout and set interval only in this particular timer phase, and it will execute those two only in the timer section. So what is set timeout means after a certain time, let's say 5 seconds, this will be timed out. The function will be executed and it will be timed out. Set immediate means let's say it is giving 5 seconds. Every 5 seconds the interval it will be executed again. That is a set interval. So set timeout and set interval functions will be executed in the timer phase. Okay. Pending callbacks are used to execute some system operations. System operations example like TCP error, anything related to the system. System related operations are executed in the pending callbacks. Okay. Next one is idle and prepare. Idle and prepare are mostly used by Node.js. Used by Node.js internal. So we don't have to worry about that one. So it is internal calls created by internal calls by Node.js. So we don't have to worry about idle and prepare. Next one is poll. Poll is the input output related callbacks executed during the poll phase. In this poll phase, it will wait for the IO events. New IO events, execute any pending IO events are there. All those things are handled in the poll phase. Next is the check phase. Check phase runs immediately after the poll phase. After this one, check phase immediately runs and invokes callbacks set up using the set immediate function. Here, set immediate function will be if there is any callback pending from the set immediate functions, it will be called. So set timeout and set interval will be called in the timer section, timers phase, and set immediate will be called in the check phase. Check will be called after the call phase. Next one is close callback. In this phase, as the name says, the callbacks which run, it will be closing. Closes the callbacks run. The ones which are run already, it will be closing the callback. Again, it will go for the loop. There is another thing called process.nextTick. This function, this is not part of the event loop, but this is also an important topic. This fires immediately on the same phase that the event loop currently is. Regardless of all these, process.nextTick runs after the current operation is completed. So whatever the phase it is, let it be timers, pending callbacks, whichever the phase it is, after the current operation is completed, this will run. So this is having the highest priority. After each operations, whatever the operations after happens, this will run. That is a process.nextTick. If somebody asks you what is the highest priority phase or highest priority in Node.js, it is the process.nextTick. Not the set timeout, not the set interval, not the set immediate, nothing. This process.nextTick is the highest priority. If you have any doubts, write down in the comments. I'll try to answer all those things. So we said Node.js is the JS runtime environment. It uses event-driven architecture. It uses non-blocking I/O. It is single-threaded with the event loop. All these four things we told, right? Fifth point is modules and packages. So Node.js is built in a modular fashion and it is having built-in modules also. Built-in modules like for example like HTTP is for connecting to the server. We have FS for file system, many things like that. So all these are built-in modules. So Node.js supports built-in modules and external modules also. So external modules means third-party packages. So in Node.js projects, we use many third-party packages. For that, we use NPM, that is Node Package Manager. With the help of NPM, we can install external packages for our application to achieve certain functionalities. Node.js is modular and it uses packages. Next one is streams. Streams are like we need to handle, let's say previously we had an issue, right? We told like if we want to read a big file, it will take the entire time. It is, let's say 10 MB file, it will take so much of time. For all those things, we can use streams, reading, writing data to the file or from the file. We can use streams. Streams allow efficient data processing by handling chunks of data as they are available instead of loading the complete data. It will take the data in chunks. So piece by piece it will take and it will load the data instead of completely loading the data altogether. That is what streams do. So we have IO streams like read stream, read buffer, all those things are there. That you will learn later. Next one is it uses middleware. What is a middleware? This is the main concept. Middleware is the interceptor. It will intercept the incoming request and it will intercept the outgoing response also. What do you mean by that? Incoming request means like when a user requests an API for data, we can check the user is validated, data is validated, the user is authenticated. All those things we can do with the help of middlewares. If you want to filter some data from the response, we can do using middleware. Or if you want to encrypt some data before it's sending to the user, we can do that. Middlewares can be used for like global error handling. We can use it for error handling. We can use it for authorization. We can use it for authentication. Just like this, there are so many use cases for the middleware. We will do that also. We will use it in our projects. These are the main things you need to know about Node. Next one is we need to know about Express. Express is built on top of the Node.js framework. Express is a lightweight, flexible framework built on top of Node.js. It helps in like building the web servers and APIs very easily. That is the main advantage of Express. It will help us in routing, middlewares, simplified HTTP handling, static file serving, integration with the databases, scalability, all those things we can achieve easily using Express instead of using the plain Node. Because plain Node.js, we need to write so many cases. Express will give it like most of the things, boilerplate things, we can easily reuse it. Next one, we need to know about RESTful APIs. From the React application, we will be interacting with the backend using the APIs, right? What is an API? It's a way for software to communicate with each other. Let's say when the front end need to communicate with the backend, or the backend need to communicate with the third party service, all those things we can use API. RESTful APIs uses HTTP protocol to communicate between two applications or two servers. We can use Postman to test the APIs. These are the main things we need to know about Node and Express. Rest of the things while doing the project we will learn. We learned React, we learned Node, we learned basic Express. So next one is MongoDB.